Item 11 reports A, the purchase and sale agreement for the fire hall lands and the adjacent parking lots.
I'll move that the purchase and sale agreement to sell 9837 and 9821 3rd Street and 2477 Sydney Avenue for the purchase price of $9 million, with the potential to increase the amount should council approve additional square footage up to the maximum floor area ratio under the current zoning, be approved.
Second.
Discussion. Councillor Wainwright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This just for the benefit of the audience, because you can read it in the staff report if you want. As the motion mentions, the base purchase price is $9 million. The amount could go up if a development permit gets approved that grants additional square footage above the base allowable under the FAR. So if they were to build to the maximum allowable under the zoning bylaw for the FAR at $90 per square foot, that's potentially an additional $2.29 million. 2/3 of that would go into the affordable housing amenity fund and 1/3 into the general amenities. So that's about $1.5 million into the affordable housing fund and about $750,000 into the general amenities for the town. The agreement involves some deposits being made that are pretty substantial. The third one is $400,000, and the conditions with respect to the closing date is that the development permit has to be issued on or before October 16th of 2018, which is obviously before the municipal election. Thank you.
Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you. To follow up on Councillor Wainwright's last point, the development permit approval for October 16th is where I have some concern, and I was just wondering if staff could walk through an estimated time frame of, I realize it's an estimate, what the time frame could look like, and also point out where we're at with the construction of the new community safety building. Certainly, through the mayor. So we're anticipating it's going to be a development permit and variance permit application that's going to be made. We are expecting the application to be submitted within the next day or two, and if that's the case, we would see it come to the June 25th council meeting. So prior to doing that, staff would have to undertake the new notice provisions. So letters to the surrounding property owners would have to be sent out in advance of that June 25th meeting. On June 25th, there would be the proposal, there would be a presentation, staff would have a background report, and council at that meeting could refer the proposal to the Advisory Planning Commission for their review and comment. The APC meets next on July 3rd. APC's recommendations would then go back to council, and the next potential council meeting for that would be we're into the summer schedule then, so it would be July 9th. And at that time, council could then instruct staff to undertake the variance notification process. So that involves letters going out, and I believe the new process, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Newcomb, but that'd be advertising in the newspaper as well, if it's a height variance, correct? So that happens on July 9th. Following that, it would then go back to council for final consideration, potentially on August 13th. So if there's issues, though, if the developer ends up submitting later, if there's additional steps in the process, we push the approval process well into September. So we're looking at either September 10th or September 24th beyond August 13th. In terms of the completion of the CSB, we're still looking at building completion being February 2019, so we're looking at occupancy by the fire department shortly thereafter. Thank you.
Councillor Wainwright.
Just an additional question for staff. Do you know if the proponent is planning to have an open house on the design?
Through the mayor to Councillor Wainwright, it was brought up in a meeting with the proponent, where I brought a number of council suggestions forward. And I brought that one forward, and there was no indication that they were prepared to undertake the additional engagement.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And actually, just to pick up on Councillor Wainwright's comments on the monies we potentially could get, somewhere between 9 million and 11.2, I guess. And so if you add in the 2.5 million we're going to receive from BC Ambulance, and then if you think about the shrewd negotiations council did as far as obtaining the fire hall site or the community safety site for basically $1 a year for the next 65 years. And that same piece of property, if we had been allowed to build on the Mary Winspear site, would have cost $7.5 million over 65 years. So if you add just those three up, that comes up to 21.2 million. We're probably looking at somewhere between 16, 17 million to complete the fire hall, like the state-of-the-art building. So we're actually up $5 million. So basically the fire hall gets built for free, which is interesting. So it's nice that council's been able to do this for the community, and I think it's a lot of it goes to when Mr. Humble did some shrewd negotiations with, I think it was that Transport Canada where we got the lease on the other side of the highway. Yeah, so things have been in play for years and years and years, but actually it's working out quite well for the town. So might want to congratulate council for wisely doing what they've done here, because we'll be able to look after our community now in the event of a catastrophic emergency of whatever type. So, all right, so I call the question. All in favor? Oh, sorry, Councilor Wainwright.
I may be misunderstanding the math on this, but the additional money that would come from the FAR would go into the Affordable Housing Fund or the General Amenity Fund. It can't go towards the CSB. So I'm thinking it's the base price of $9 million, the 2.5 the ambulance are putting into it, and that takes a very healthy dent out of the CSB cost, but I don't think it leaves us with no cost at all to the taxpayer.
I just projected it over 65 years if you included the $7.5 million that we would have given the Mary Winspear Center, and so that there's still an extra $5 million, which it could be a lot worse. All right, I call the question. All in favor?